Have you ever wondered why you feel different? Why, amidst the chaos of life, there's a part of you that refuses to conform to the mundane? It's not arrogance, it's not pride, it's the pulse of something ancient and eternal within you, something calling you to rise. I'm here to tell you that you are not alone. You are one of the chosen ones, and your path is sacred. But let me ask you this, do you truly understand what it means to be chosen? You see, chosen ones are not merely lucky or special, they are aligned with a frequency that transcends the ordinary. And because of this, there are certain challenges that you will never have to face. These challenges belong to those who have yet to awaken, those who are still caught in the web of illusion. But as we explore these truths, I want you to reflect deeply on your own life. Are you truly free from these struggles, or are you still shedding the layers of your old self? The first challenge is the need for external validation. For most people, life is a relentless quest for approval. They crave applause, they hunger for recognition, and they measure their worth by the opinions of others. But when you are chosen, something shifts. You begin to see that external validation is as fleeting as a shadow at sunset. You no longer need the world to tell you who you are, because you've touched the essence of your being. But let me ask you, are you living free of this need, or do you still find yourself seeking the nod of approval from others? When you truly step into your power, the opinions of others become like whispers in the wind, heard, but never held. You realize that your worth is intrinsic, unshakable, and eternal. This is not arrogance, this is alignment. It's the quiet confidence of knowing that you are enough, just as you are. The second challenge is the fear of solitude. Most people are terrified of being alone. They fill their lives with noise, distractions, and shallow connections to avoid facing themselves. But chosen ones are different. We understand that solitude is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is in the stillness of solitude that we hear the whispers of the divine, the guidance of our higher self. But solitude is not always easy, even for the chosen. So I ask you, when was the last time you truly embraced your own company? When was the last time you sat in silence and listened to the song of your soul? Solitude is not a punishment, it is a gift. It is in solitude that we find clarity, that we reconnect with our purpose, that we remember who we are. So if you fear being alone, know that this fear is not yours. It is a remnant of the old self, a shadow of the ego. Let it go, and you will find that solitude is not a void, it is a sanctuary. The third challenge is the obsession with material success. For the unawakened, life is a race to accumulate money, possessions, status. But chosen ones see through the illusion of materialism. We understand that true wealth is not measured in dollars or possessions, it is measured in peace, in purpose, in love. But let me ask you this, do you still find yourself chasing the next thing, the next achievement, the next milestone? Or have you truly let go of the need to prove your worth through your accomplishments?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
When you release the obsession with material success, you open yourself to a deeper abundance. You begin to attract what you need, not through force, but through flow. You realize that the universe is not a battlefield, it is a garden, and you are both the gardener and the harvest. So as we end this part, I want you to reflect deeply on these challenges. Have you truly overcome the need for validation, the fear of solitude, and the obsession with material success? Or are these shadows still lingering in your life? Remember, awareness is the first step to transformation. To walk the path of the chosen is to walk with an invisible armor, a protection that shields us not from pain, but from illusion. This armor is not something we wear, it is something we become. but it is forged in fire, tempered in truth, and polished by the light of awareness. So let me ask you, do you feel the weight of this armor, or have you yet to claim it as your own? The fourth challenge that chosen ones never have to face is the fear of the unknown. For most people, uncertainty is a source of anxiety. They cling to the familiar, even when it no longer serves them, because the unknown feels like a void. But for us, the chosen ones, the unknown is not a void, it is a portal. It is the gateway to growth, to transformation, to the infinite possibilities of the divine. But let's be honest, do you embrace the unknown, or do you still find yourself hesitating at the edge of the familiar? To embrace the unknown is to trust in the unfolding of life. It is to understand that we are co-creators of our reality, that the universe is always conspiring for our highest good. When we release the need to control, we step into a flow that is more powerful, more beautiful, and more aligned than anything we could have planned. So the next time you face uncertainty, remember the unknown is not your enemy, it is your ally. The fifth challenge is the burden of comparison. In a world where everyone is trying to be better, faster, richer, and more successful, the chosen ones walk a different path. We understand that comparison is the thief of joy, that it is a game we cannot win, because it is rooted in lack. But let me ask you this, do you truly walk your own path? Or do you still find yourself looking sideways, measuring your life against the lives of others? When you release the burden of comparison, you free yourself to live authentically. You begin to see that your journey is unique, that your purpose is sacred, that your value is inherent. You no longer need to compete, because you understand that there is enough for everyone, that abundance is not a pie to be divided, but an ocean to be shared. As we close this part, I want you to take a moment to reflect. Do you trust the unknown, or does it still hold you back? Do you walk your own path, or are you still entangled in the web of comparison? Remember, the path of the chosen is not about perfection, it is about progress. To be chosen is not to escape challenges, it is to transcend them. It is to rise above the illusions that bind the unawakened and to step into the infinite freedom of the soul. But this liberation is not given, it is earned. It is the result of inner work, of radical honesty, of unwavering faith. So let me ask you, have you truly claimed your liberation, or are you still seeking it outside of yourself? One of the greatest truths that chosen ones understand is that freedom is an inside job. While the world chases external freedom, freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of circumstance, we know that true freedom is the freedom of the mind, the freedom of the heart, the freedom of the soul. But let me ask you this, are you free in your mind, or are you still a prisoner of your thoughts? Are you free in your heart? Are you still weighed down by resentment, fear, or doubt? True freedom comes when we release the stories that no longer serve us. It comes when we forgive ourselves and others, when we surrender to the flow of life, when we choose love over fear. It is not something we achieve, it is something we remember. Because the truth is, we were never bound, we only thought we were. Finally, chosen ones never have to face the fear of death. This does not mean we do not value life, on the contrary, we cherish it deeply. But we understand that death is not an end, it is a transition, a return to the infinite. When you truly embrace this truth, the fear of death dissolves, and you are free to live fully, boldly, fearlessly. So let me ask you, do you fear death? Or do you see it as a sacred part of the journey? There's an undeniable truth about those who are chosen, a truth that many fail to understand. It's not that life becomes easier, it's that certain battles lose their grip on you. You stop fighting wars that don't belong to you. You stop carrying weights that were never yours to bear. The challenges that entangle others fall away, not because you're immune to struggle, but because you're aligned with something deeper. And yet, here's the question: do you truly see the illusions you've outgrown, or do you still get caught in the noise of the world? One of the most liberating truths is that chosen ones never have to confront the fear of irrelevance. For most, there's a gnawing worry that they'll be forgotten, that their existence will fade into obscurity. They chase fame, legacy, or some form of permanence, hoping to carve their name into the fabric of the world. But when you've awakened to who you really are, this fear evaporates. You realize that relevance is not tied to how many people know your name or how much you leave behind. It's tied to how authentically you live in each moment. Think about it. The stars in the sky, billions of light years away, shine without needing anyone to notice. They're not concerned with being relevant, yet their light reaches us across time and space. Isn't that the kind of life that matters, not one built on chasing validation, but on simply being what you're meant to be? And yet, even knowing this, how many times have you been tempted to measure your worth by how much you've achieved or how much attention you've received? When you're chosen, you stop chasing relevance because you know that your existence is already significant. You stop asking, "How will I be remembered?" and instead start living in a way that doesn't need to be remembered. What matters is not the mark you leave, but the life you live. Another challenge that never burdens the chosen ones is the fear of being misunderstood. For most people, being misunderstood feels like rejection. It's uncomfortable, even painful, to have your words twisted or your intentions doubted. But for you, the chosen one, this fear no longer has power. Why? Because you've learned that truth doesn't need to be explained to everyone. Think about how much energy is wasted trying to convince others of who we are or what we believe. It's like shouting into the wind, hoping it will carry your voice in the right direction. But here's the thing: when you truly know yourself, you stop needing others to understand you. It's not that their opinions don't matter, it's that they no longer define your reality. Some will call you strange, others will call you wise, and many will never know what to make of you. That's okay. Being misunderstood is not a reflection of your truth, it's a reflection of their perspective. Do you see how freeing that is? When you stop needing to be understood, you become untouchable. You allow your actions, your energy, and your presence to speak louder than your words. And this leads to something even deeper. Chosen ones never have to face the burden of proving themselves. For most, life feels like a constant audition. People feel the need to prove their worth, their intelligence, their abilities, even their kindness. They live as though the world is holding a scorecard, as though every move they make is being judged. But when you're aligned with your purpose, this burden lifts. You don't need to prove your worth because you already know you're worthy. You don't need to prove your intelligence because you know that your value doesn't depend on how much you know. And you don't need to prove your kindness because true kindness isn't performative, it's a natural extension of who you are. So let me ask you this: how much of your energy is still spent trying to prove something to others? And what would happen if you let that go? The truth is, when you stop living for the approval of others, you start living for yourself. And paradoxically, that's when you become the most impactful. When you act from a place of authenticity, without the need to prove or convince, your energy becomes magnetic. People are drawn to you not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're embodying something real. There's something beautiful about simplicity, isn't there? When life is stripped down to its essence, when the noise fades and only the truth remains, everything feels lighter. Chosen ones understand this in a way that others don't. They see that life doesn't have to be a constant struggle. That peace doesn't come from complexity, but from clarity. Here's a reality chosen ones never have to face: the chaos of living without purpose. For many, life feels aimless. They wake up, go through the motions, and wonder why they feel so empty. They try to fill the void with distractions: work, relationships, entertainment, but nothing satisfies. But that's not your story. When you're aligned with your purpose, life has a rhythm, a flow. You wake up knowing that your actions matter, even if no one else sees them. You understand that your purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing, it just has to be yours. But let's be honest, even those who are chosen can sometimes lose sight of their purpose. The world is loud, and it's easy to get pulled in 100 different directions. So here's the real question: are you living aligned with your purpose? Or have you been distracted by the noise? The beauty of purpose is that it's not something you have to find, it's something you already know. It's written into your very being. And when you remember it, everything else falls into place. The doubts, the fears, the confusion, they all fade away, leaving only the clarity of the path ahead. Another challenge you don't have to face is the emptiness of shallow connections. For most people, relationships are built on convenience, not depth. They surround themselves with people who don't truly see them, who don't challenge them to grow. But as a chosen one, you crave something deeper. You're not interested in surface-level connections, you want relationships that are real, transformative, and soul-nourishing. It's not always easy to find these connections. Sometimes it feels like you're walking alone, like no one truly understands you. But here's the truth: the right people will always find you. When you live authentically, you attract those who resonate with your energy. You don't have to force it, you just have to be yourself. So think about the relationships in your life. Are they lifting you up or holding you back? Are they feeding your soul or draining your energy? And most importantly, are you showing up as your true self, or are you dimming your light to make others comfortable? In the end, the path of the chosen is not complicated. It's not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about living in alignment with who you are, letting go of what no longer serves you, and trusting that you are exactly where you're meant to be. So let me leave you with this: what will you do with the freedom you've been given? What will you create? Who will you become? And how will you live now that you see the truth? There's something you might have noticed about yourself. You don't quite fit in. You're not completely part of the world that surrounds you, but you're not detached from it either. It's like standing on the edge of two worlds, one foot in the physical and the other in something timeless, something vast and unseen. This duality doesn't feel like a curse, it's a quiet strength. But it's also a balancing act, isn't it? Here's the thing: chosen ones don't have to face the need to belong to the crowd. Most people spend their lives trying to be part of something, any group, any tribe, any collective that will accept them. They shape-shift, suppressing parts of themselves just to fit into spaces where they were never meant to be. But when you're chosen, you stop looking for belonging in the wrong places. You don't need the crowd to validate your existence because you're already at home within yourself. Think about how much freedom this brings. You no longer have to explain why you're different, why your values don't align with the mainstream, or why the things others obsess over just don't matter to you. You're no longer trapped in the exhausting game of trying to fit in where you don't belong. But here's the challenge: are you truly living in that freedom? Or do you still catch yourself shrinking a little, just to make others more comfortable? This is the paradox of being chosen. You don't belong to the crowd, but you're not separate from it either. You see the pain, the confusion, the striving of others, and you understand it because you were once there too. You don't judge it, but you don't participate in it either. It's like standing in a storm and knowing that you are the calm center. You're not untouched by the chaos, but you're no longer controlled by it. And yet, even with this clarity, there's another layer to this. Chosen ones don't have to face the fear of being unseen. For most, there's this deep, unspoken fear of fading into the background, of being invisible, of living and dying without making any impact. It's why people chase recognition, why they crave acknowledgement. But when you're chosen, you understand that being seen by the world is not the same as being seen by life itself. Think about it. A tree doesn't need applause to grow. A river doesn't need validation to flow. The sun doesn't wait for appreciation before it rises. They simply are, and in their being, they fulfill their purpose. In the same way, chosen ones don't need to be seen by everyone. You know that your life matters whether or not anyone recognizes it. You know that your impact is not measured by how many eyes are on you, but by how deeply your existence aligns with truth. But here's the question: do you actually believe this in your quiet moments? Or do you still feel a pull toward wanting to be acknowledged, to be noticed? There's nothing wrong with wanting connection, but when you realize that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's recognition of you, something inside you unlocks. You become untangled from the need to perform. This freedom comes with another realization: chosen ones don't have to face the fear of losing control. For many people, control is their anchor. They cling to it because they believe it's what keeps their lives stable, predictable, and safe. But control is an illusion, isn't it? No matter how tightly someone holds on, life will always move in ways they can't predict. And for most, that's terrifying. But when you're chosen, you begin to see control for what it is: a false sense of security. You've probably felt this shift in your own life. The more you try to control, the more life resists. But the moment you let go, the moment you trust, things seem to fall into place in ways you couldn't have planned. It's not about giving up, it's about realizing that the flow of life is far more intelligent than your attempts to manipulate it. So the question isn't whether you're in control, it's whether you're willing to let life guide you. Are you gripping so tightly to your plans that you're missing what's being offered to you in this moment? Or are you able to step into the unknown, not with fear, but with quiet confidence? As we bring this part to a close, there's a simple truth that ties all of this together. Being chosen isn't about escaping challenges. It's about seeing the world differently. The things that consume others, the need to belong, the fear of being unseen, the obsession with control, no longer hold the same power over you. You're not running from them, you've simply risen above them. There's a strength in you that maybe you don't even realize. It's not loud. It doesn't demand attention. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be announced, because it's not about anyone else, it's about who you are when no one is watching. Chosen ones don't have to face the fear of standing alone. For most people, being alone feels like failure. It's seen as a sign that something is wrong, that they're unloved or unworthy. But for you, solitude is not emptiness, it's clarity. You don't need a crowd to feel complete because your connection to yourself is more than enough. But let's be real. Standing alone isn't always easy. There are moments when the silence feels heavy, when you wonder if you're the only one who sees the world this way. And yet, deep down, you know that solitude is not the same as loneliness. Being alone doesn't mean you're isolated, it means you're free. This quiet courage also means you don't have to face the fear of failure. For most, failure is something to be avoided at all costs. It's seen as a sign of weakness, a reason to quit. but you've learned something that many never will. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. Think about how much lighter life becomes when you stop fearing failure, when you see it not as an end, but as a redirection, as a teacher. Every time something doesn't go the way you planned, it's not a punishment, it's a refinement. It's life saying, not this way. Try again. The question is, are you willing to let failure shape you without breaking you? Are you brave enough to try, even when there are no guarantees? Because that's the kind of courage that chosen ones carry, not the absence of fear, but the presence of resolve. Finally, chosen ones don't have to face the fear of being forgotten. For most, there's a lingering worry that their lives won't matter, that their efforts will fade into nothingness. But when you're chosen, you understand something profound. The impact of your life isn't measured in timelines, it's measured in ripples. Every kind word, every act of love, every truth you live creates ripples that extend far beyond what you can see. You don't need a monument to prove you existed. Your existence is already woven into the fabric of life itself. So here's the real question. What are you creating with the life you've been given? Not for recognition, not for applause, but simply because it's who you are. That's the beauty of being chosen. You don't need to prove your worth. You just need to live it. The quiet courage of the chosen ones isn't about being fearless. It's about standing firm in the face of fear, knowing that you are more than the challenges you face. It's about living in alignment with truth, even when the world around you doesn't understand. Let this be the way you move forward, not with noise, but with purpose. Not with force, but with strength, because that's